It's not funny. It's sad. I have devoured every single one of her books. Okay, Anteater. Man's is spitting poetry every other chapter, except the smut. Longing, longing, pining, pining, longing. Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Is back talking about books, and today is gonna be a really short video. This is a video talking about authors I will read their entire bibliography of. This doesn't necessarily mean that they are really amazing writers that are technically good. The way that they write is technically really good writing, like Ocean Vuong or something. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that these are authors that I know when I pick up their book, I'm gonna have a good time. When I see their name on the book, okay, this story is something that will be fast-paced that I will not hate. I mean, actually, I take that back because I feel like there is one or two maybe authors on this list that I know I might hate read the book. But either way, these authors are so easy to read. The stories that they create are so ingrained in your memory, are page turners. I will immediately know that when I pick up their book, I will have a time of my life, whether it be a good time of my life or a bad time of my life. Let's just say that. Starting at number 1 on this list is Marissa Meyer. I love this woman to death. I could read her grocery list and I would have a good time. I think she is the epitome of a page turner author. Every single book I've read from her, I don't know what is laced inside of that book. She probably put crack in the binding of the book because for some reason, I connect so well with her characters. And if you don't know who Marissa Meyer is, she's really well known for, she's a fantasy writer, young adult fantasy, that is known for recontextualizing fairy tale books and putting them into a retelling of the same story. So her first book that really popped up was Cinder, which is the first book to the Lunar Chronicles. And that is where I fell in love with her. I don't know if I were to go back to rereading those books, would I have the time of my life? I don't know. But I can tell you that when I got back into reading after, going to high school, I don't read a lot, going through college, you kind of get busy and you don't have time to read, or you feel like you've lost the interest of reading books for fun again. I picked up the first book of the Renegade series because I remember absolutely loving Cinder so much. I literally was on the lookout for if they were to make a movie or a TV show of Cinder, and I resonated with Cinder so much. I wanted to be her. I was like, oh my god, I can play Cinder, and I was a theater kid. Like, I grew up wanting to be an actress. I literally was like, this is my role. This is the role of my lifetime. I picked up Renegades. When I went camping, we stopped at a bookstore and I was like, oh my god, I remember this author. Let me try to read this book. I just started it. It was hard to get into, a lot of world building, but after not reading for fun for 5 to 6 years, kept reading it, and it was the first book that I read that I stayed up till 6 a.m. to finish, and I heard the birds chirping outside. There's just something about the way that this woman writes, maybe because she's a young adult author, maybe because of that, it's really easy to read. It is so quick, you fall in love with the characters, you fall in love with the world, and it's a page turner and you just get so invested. And after I finished Renegades, I immediately went to the bookstore to pick up the second and the third book, and I finished that whole series within a week, and that was the fastest I've ever read a book in my entire life at that point. So like 3 or 4 years ago. And I just knew in that instant, Marissa Meyer will always be an Insta-Buy author to me. I loved Heartless. I loved the entire Lunar Chronicles series. I loved the Renegade series, and I honestly think that they are underrated. I have not read her new series, but I'm gonna say I'm pretty sure when I read it, because one day I will read it when I get through my list of books I have, I'm going to love it. I just have that in my heart because this woman has not missed for me yet. And swear to God, I hope she does not miss with this new series that she has. So Marissa Meyer's number 1 absolute banger books every single time, Insta-Buy author. Marissa Meyer. Second author. Might be an unpopular opinion, okay? I am sort of critical with books. No matter how much I absolutely love a book, in my heart, it's a 5 out of 5 star read. I have a YouTube channel. I'm very critical about books. It's kind of detrimental, but it's also good. Also, always be critical of the art that you're consuming. So I know that maybe the people who watch my channel might not like this author that I will say next. But I cannot help but love character-driven stories. And this author, love her or hate her, she has a huge following. People absolutely devour her books. And on that one side, there's the opposite side that are absolute haters. If there was one hater in the world of this author, it would be them. It is Sarah J. Maas. Okay, I really like Sarah J. Maas. And that might be because I'm a very character-driven reader, and her stories, if there's one thing they're known for, it is the characters. People fall in love with Aelin Galathynius. They fall in love with Rhysand. They fall in love with Feyre. They fall in love with Cassian. They fall in love with the characters. The most memorable thing that you will get with Sarah J. Maas is the characters. I still love her stories. I love the way she writes action. The world building sometimes is like, whatever. And there's always romance. And she is really popular for a reason. You can love her or hate her. Her books are sort of trashy. If they are, sue me. I have a good time reading them. And they are also gave me the biggest book hangover I could have ever had after reading the A Court of Thorns and Rose series. I was utterly obsessed with it. Everyone goes down that rabbit hole, right? Everyone who likes Sarah J. Maas at least goes down the rabbit hole of starting this book, going into A Court of Thorns and Roses blind, reading it, liking it, reading the second one, loving it, and then they just keep reading and reading and reading. And I will applaud Sarah J. Maas for that, for creating a world in which people want to read more books that are like hers and that gave them the same feeling that they had while reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I think that within itself is so magical, and I can't help but love that, and I can't help but love the characters. Her writing style, you can either hate her or love it. She has a million M dashes. She writes sentences that are so repetitive. She uses repetition a lot. I think for me, it makes the fantasy world and the world building, what the characters go through, the feelings and emotions. For me, you might not like repetition. I love it. It made the books palatable. And so far, I've read almost every single one of her books. I just have not read the second book to the Crescent City series, but I devour every single time. I love it every single time. Hate me or love me for it. It's okay to have differing opinions, and I love that we can do that. I just really think her writing style works for me. Her characters always work for me. If there's one thing, is I will never get bored reading a Sarah J. Maas book. It has everything I need. It's not maybe literary fiction that is amazing, that is so detailed, and there's no plot holes. There's probably a bunch of plot holes in all her books, okay? I eat it up every single time. I am so sorry, but she is an Insta-Buy author for me. Next author that is an Insta-Buy author is Ali Hazelwood. Basically, I've read her whole entire bibliography, and I have a playlist on my channel that is reviewing all of her books that I've read so far, except the novellas. I have read her novellas, I just haven't reviewed them. And I don't know if I plan on reviewing them because they're just so short. If I want to read about a simpy man obsessed with a girl, secretly pining after her for years, and the writing is a little cringy, and it's giving rom-com cringe, and it's super, super easy to read, Ali Hazelwood is your girl. I have devoured every single one of her books within 2 to 3 days. There is not a single book in her bibliography that I have DNF'd. Her writing is so cringy, but there's something so feel-good about an Ali Hazelwood copy and paste books. You know exactly what you are getting into when you read Ali Hazelwood. And that is what I love about her. If I am bored out of my mind, sitting at home, thinking, what book do I want to read? I'm so bored. I don't have anything to read. There's just too many options. Ali Hazelwood. If she comes out with a new one, okay, I'm reading that the next day. Love her. Love her, love her, love her. All of the men in her books are so Mr. Darcy 2005 Pride and Prejudice coded. They are just pining, longing after a woman. And I love it. I eat it up every single time. And tell me why she writes about nerdy topics and makes me so giddy reading it. If you don't love her, you're not gonna like any of her books because they are copy and pasted. But you know what? I love the copying and I love the pasting, okay? Because it is a copy and a paste that I eat every single time. You know how they ask you that question? Oh, what is the one cuisine you could eat every single day? For me, it's Vietnamese food. For me, it's Ali Hazelwood books. Maybe not every single day. But I'm saying variety is the spice of life. But Ali Hazelwood, I'll eat it every day, even though there's no variety to it, okay? That's my guilty pleasure. This woman, her books, either, ooh, I really, really love them, or they're like, ooh, not so good. I don't care. I will read it. I will read it. I will read this woman's grocery list. Like, I just love it, okay? Her books are not perfect. They are never perfect. You can get that from me by looking through all of the reviews I've done of her books. Her books are nowhere near perfect, but if I need a feel-good time, if I am in a rom-com slump, then her books are always there for me. Next person I will say is in the same vein, honestly, of Ali Hazelwood is Helen Hong. She's, I think, only written 3 books, part of the same series. I didn't really like her last book, but her first and second book, The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test, I just really liked. I liked that a lot of the main characters were Vietnamese and showed the Vietnamese culture. They're so heartwarming and cute. I think if she were to come out with more books, I would read it because they're so easy to read. Peak rom-com. I feel like now I'm reading a lot of rom-coms that just kind of drag. Why does a rom-com need to be 600 pages? Tell me why a romance needs to be 700 pages if it is not a slow burn. It is just rom-com. You don't need 700 pages for a rom-com. I loved Kiss Quotient. I love the spiciness of it. I love the wholesomeness of her books. I think there's only 3, but I know that if she came out with another, I'd really like it. Helen Hong, instant buy author. Another person I would not necessarily insta buy, but if I'm in a slump, I would insta read. I have not. This is me being hypocritical because I haven't read all of her books. It's Colleen Hoover. I've not read all of her books. Maybe I've read 5 of her books, 6 maybe. But she has a big bibliography. I think she's written a lot of books. Honestly, if I was really, really desperately in a need for a good read, for a read that I know I will be entertained with, for the most part, I think Colleen Hoover would be there for me. Would I buy her books? Probably not. But she's an author that I feel like is so easy to read. And the writing is so simple. It's very Wattpad-esque. And honestly, you could be in 3rd grade and understand it and read it and enjoy her books. But I'm not saying 3rd graders should read her books. Inappropriate, okay? But I'm saying it's 3rd grade written language. A lot of her books are crazy and they are wild. And a lot of wacky shit happens. And you know what? If you are here for a good time, not necessarily a healthy time, but if you're here for a good time and want to sit in your bed reading this book and being like, what the fuck is going on? And keep flipping the pages and being like, I cannot stop reading this insanity, then Colleen Hoover will most likely be there for you. All her books, to me, I don't really like it. I don't think they are the epitome of healthy relationships in the slightest. If they're romances, toxic romances, I think her books are marketed as romances, but in reality, it's just contemporary fiction. And she uses a lot of trauma as plot points for her books. And the relationships that are created are crazy, hence Ugly Love, hence November 9. But when I was reading it, I enjoyed myself so much. I kept flipping the pages and I got invested in the story and they were so fun. So you know what? If I'm having a boring time at home, I know reading a Colleen Hoover book is how I feel watching reality television. You will not get any substance in it, but sometimes it's just so good. It's like good trash. If I need that, if I need a good trash, if I need something similar to reality television to read, it's in the same vein. Okay, I will say though, a couple of her books I've been bored with. I did not really like All Your Perfects because it was boring. If there's one thing that I hate while reading is being bored. At least I know with Colleen Hoover, I will, for the most part, not be bored. I get scared every single day I pick up a book that I'm gonna open the pages and be bored. That is the last thing I would want. That is the reason why I didn't like Hunting Adeline, because it was boring for a lot of it, except the smut. That's kind of what I mean by insta-buy authors or insta-read authors that I will read their entire bibliography for, because I know Colleen Hoover is gonna have a you're gonna have a crazy time reading her books. And I love that. It's such good books to review too. I do wanna say Verity, kind of boring. Regretting You, kind of boring. And All Your Perfects, I forgot what happened in All Your Perfects, forgettable. I think that her bibliography, for the most part, is really interesting. I really liked, honestly, Reminders of Him. And November 9 was horrible and toxic, but you know what? It's fun. Ugly Love, the same thing. It's horrible and it's toxic, but so fun to read. Man's is spitting poetry every other chapter. So fun, so memorable. You know that, how could I not have a good time reading it? You're gonna get something out of it. You won't be bored. And so that's why I say I would probably, if I'm sitting at home, stuck, don't have a book to read, I would pick up a Colleen Hoover book. I won't be bored. I might hate read it, or I actually might like it. That's the fun with it. It could be either which way. It's like going to an amusement park. There's a surprise to it with a Colleen Hoover book. You don't know what you're gonna get. Are you gonna hate it? Are you gonna love it? Is it gonna be crazy? Is it gonna be fun? We don't know, but it'll be a time of your life, whether it be good or bad. Another Insta-Buy author. This one, for real, Insta-Buy. Actual Insta-Buy author, Emily Henry. This is actual quality Insta-Buy author because she writes romance books that just so deeply ingrained in your soul, makes you relate to these characters so much. They're so character-driven, and for the most part, they are marketed as rom-coms. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's sad. A lot of her books feel so melancholy and sad, and you just feel so deeply for these characters. It's very much normal people coded. You just are falling for these characters, falling for what they're going through. Maybe not even the chemistry of each other and like the romance in it, but just the characters, just like who they are as people. And her writing just gets you to a point of, like, it just understands humanness and humanity so much. Emily Henry, to me, is the epitome of why I feel like maybe I could never be a good writer, because to me, she exudes all of the examples of, yeah, every single word that is written in this book just hits the nail on the head of what I am feeling. And how can someone use words in this way? It's just so good. It's just so good, but it's so palatable too. For the most part, I won't really be bored with her books either. There are slow points in a lot of her books, but I think at the end of the day, the reason she writes and the reason why she's writing and publishing a certain book and what she's trying to say to people just feels so validating when you're reading it, that Insta-Buy authors, plus her books are so cute. I'm literally gonna buy all her books when they come out on paperback because the covers are so cute. They're so cute. They look so good on my bookshelf. What can I say? 2 more authors I'm going to talk about today. First is going to be Helen Hong, and she is an Insta-Read author for me. Why is it? Even though I kind of feel like a lot of her books haven't been as good or they're not as fun of a time, it's her writing style. Really palatable, really easy to read. Some of her smut scenes are pretty good. And if you need a good smutty time, actually they haven't really been that good recently. But I will read every single one of Helen Hong's books because firstly, they're popular, so it's easy to talk about if I were to review them on my YouTube channel. They aren't insanely long and you won't really waste your time. They're easy to read. I feel like similarly to Ali Hazelwood, a lot of her characters are copy and paste, although a little too much copy and pasted. Helen Hong's copy and paste sometimes doesn't make sense, because at least Ali Hazelwood gives a little more in-depth of who each character is and the characters themselves, even though they are copy and pasted. The story is copy and pasted in Ali Hazelwood books. It's a very, very piney man who wants a girl. I think the characters have a little more uniqueness to them. For Helen Hong, not gonna lie, I think a lot of her characters could be interchangeable. Grumpy billionaire boy falls in love with regular girl. I don't know, any of her heroes feel a little bit interchangeable. So that's kind of the reason I think they're a little too copy and pasted as of recently. I just think her books are very palatable. That's why I would just read her entire bibliography, because I know for the majority of the time I'm gonna have a decent time. I won't be too bored, except with King of Pride. I was pretty bored. I don't know. I just know that I'm gonna read all her books. No rhyme nor reason. It's just easy. You're not gonna waste 600, 700 pages worth of book when you read her books. They're like 300 pages, 400 pages. And lastly, this author is a little bit up in the air, and I'm just saying this, but I don't know if it's the truth, is an Insta-Buy author for me, would be Neil Shusterman. Only because every single book that I've bought from him and every single series I've read from him has been really good page turners, and I eat it up every single time. And do you see this on the back of my wall? You see what that says? It says UC Irvine. And my man's Neil Shusterman, when I looked up his Wikipedia, it said UC Irvine alumni. Okay, Anteater. Okay. I really like his work. This is up in the air if this is an actual Insta-Buy author for me, because I haven't read his entire bibliography. Of the books I've bought from him, 100% of the time I have a good time. 100% of the books that I have bought from him have been super good page-turning books. Dystopian book. He writes dystopian YA, and it has a lot of ethical questions about humanity and also bodily autonomy, and I will tell you what books I've read from him. I've read the Scythe series, and let me just tell you, I think Neal Shusterman is so underrated as an author. I think more people should read him. I love his work, and yeah, he's really good. Shusterman Scythe series, amazing. The way he writes action and gore is so good. I don't know what else to say. And also, the only other series that I've read from Neal Shusterman is the Unwind series. I don't even know if I finished his series. I remember my sister, she was in 7th grade, I was in 5th grade or something like that, was reading this book. She likes to read aloud, especially when we were younger. She would read the book aloud to herself. She was sitting in the other room, reading this book on page 100, talking about unwinding and what it is. And I just walk around the house. My house is small. Overhear it in the corner of my ears, I guess I'll say. I just overhear it from the other room. And then I get intrigued. She's literally reading aloud as if I'm listening to an audiobook. I just walk from the other room randomly, sit down next to her, and she keeps reading and I keep listening. And I'm like, and I ask her questions because she's already 150 pages in. And I said, wait. And I just start asking her questions. You know, siblings just bother each other. I was like, wait, what does that mean? Like unwind. So, and she explains it to me. She said, so right now they're in this facility. This moment is ingrained in my memory. This is one of those core memories that I have of her reading this book, only reading 2 to 3 pages, and I'm already sitting. I'm utterly devouring it. What is unwinding and what is this? What is that? And she says, well, they take the body parts, kids who are rebellious, they'll chop them up and put their body parts on other people, but there's muscle memory and then this and that and the third, and they live like phantom. I was like, what is this? This is insane. I read it for myself. I utterly devoured it. I don't remember a single thing about the book. I don't remember a single sentence of the book, any plot point, even the characters of the book. I don't remember, but I remember loving it. I remember the feeling I felt while reading that series. I think I only even read the first 3. I want to reread it. After that, I knew that this author, he was really good. My entire list right now is on women authors. So I was like, why not put a man on here? Because I don't really read men. I don't read books written by men. Kind of scary. I just know he's so underrated. I think that series, Unwind, was the first time he really popped off. I think Scythe was so underrated too. I think more people should read it. I think more people should get back into Unwind and why that was such a good series and why they should develop it into a TV show. I think it'd be amazing. And it poses a lot of ethical questions for young people. They are young adult books. I really like the questions that it poses about morality, the good and the bad, especially in Scythe. They're just really interesting dystopia novels. And that is the reason I wanted to put him on this list, even though I haven't read his entire bibliography. I just really liked those 2 series, and those were the only 2 books that I've picked up from him, and I utterly devoured. Page turners as well. Really good world building. So that is the end to my list of Insta by INSTA-READ authors. Please, please, please let me know your thoughts below. I would love to hear them. Some of your Insta by authors. I want to know what they are because I feel like this list could probably be really long, but I thought this was gonna be a short video. This video, it's already been 35 minutes of me filming this. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below, and I will catch you in the next one.